Hello, my name is Sabrina Esquela, and today I'm going to be presenting on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic and how it relates to groupthink. So what is groupthink? It's a mode of thinking that people engage in when they are deeply involved in a cohesive in-group, when the members' strivings for unanimity override their motivation to realistically appraise alternative courses of action. So just an overview of the pandemic began in December of 2019 in Wuhan, China. It originally was being looked at as symptoms of an atypical pneumonia, something that was not responding to the treatments that were available. It was thought to be connected to the Huanan seafood wholesale market, and the following actions led to it being closed for fear of an outbreak, like the SARS-CoV-1, which was a prior pandemic from 2002 to 2004, the severe acute respiratory syndrome. So the World Health Organization and the Center for Disease Control got involved at that point. The virus was spreading globally, and it was declared a pandemic in March of 2020. As things developed, lockdowns were mandated, as well as wearing masks, and social distancing were promoted as well. As information was being made more readily available, governments were adapting their strategies for stopping the spread. And yeah, so some of the examples of groupthink throughout the pandemic response. The media was incredibly important in promoting theories about the origins of the virus, information as far as how to prevent the spread and contracting it, and sharing information about the way that it was being handled globally and by government officials. The role that the media played is incredibly significant because the origin of the virus wasn't initially understood, and there were many theories being brought up as possibilities. The media outlets were supporting certain theories and discussing views about what would be effective, which is what people relied on since there was little information being shared at a given time. Because of the lack of information being readily available from the beginning, there wasn't a lot of scrutiny or questioning as far as the initial response. The health organizations and government officials were issuing mandates and guidelines as far as what would minimize the spread and what would help prevent people from contracting the virus. An example would be the way that masks were initially not seen as necessary, and later on it was retracted that masks, it was changed to show that masks were incredibly effective for helping prevent the spread of the virus, and to help individuals protect themselves from contracting it. More examples would be public support and motivation for creating a vaccine contributed to it being publicly available as quickly as it was. And once it was available, it was discussed that it would be mandated for individuals to vaccinate themselves. And again, the media supported heavily supported the vaccine and issuing mandates for individuals to show proof of vaccination. There were some positive effects of groupthink in relation to the way that individuals responded to the pandemic. A primary example of this would be the way that individuals came together to follow um, government and health official guidelines. Um, the media played an important role to promote health guidelines and the mandates that were issued by governments, making that information available and promoting wearing masks, staying home during lockdowns, practicing social distancing. All of those tips were important for um, giving the public access to that information that would help them protect themselves. There was also a lot of public support for the distribution of the vaccine, and that is what contributed to that being rolled out in the way that it was. Some of the negative effects of groupthink in this case would be um, just how polarized all of the conversations regarding the spread of the pandemic, the origins of it, um, the potential effects of how it was handled as far as by government officials and health organizations. Misinformation was being spread in in a lot of ways. Um, there was an atmosphere of frenzy, and that contributed to the attitudes that people held about the information that was being shared and how they responded to it. Um, and the way that it was initially downplayed. Um, you know, minimizing the severity of it contributed to the way that people responded and um, the way that initially it is information changed as more information became available also contributed to creating confusion. The initial downplaying of the virus, how it was being transmitted, effective actions to prevent it played roles in spreading misinformation and creating opportunities for opposition. Many people complied, but some did not. Some of them distrusted the medical experts, some did not think the virus would harm them, and some resisted because they were members of groups that resisted. One of the most harmful and impactful lasting effects of groupthink in response to the pandemic was how the connection to China was used to target Asian Americans in an unfair and harmful way. Racist rhetoric was being spread, and that led to open discrimination and, in a lot of cases, violence. Following the coronavirus outbreak, reports of discrimination and violence towards Asian Americans increased. About 1/3 of Asian adults, 32%, say they personally knew an Asian person in the US who had been threatened or attacked because of their race or ethnicity since the COVID-19 pandemic began in 2020. So some of the possible actions that would resolve groupthink in this specific case, um, I think transparent communication and information being spread from the media, from government officials, and health organizations. Whatever information is available needs to be readily available and accessible to the public. Um, and the role that the media played is also important. Um, as far as practicing discernment and an appropriate level of scrutiny for the information available and allowing open dialogue for all points of view to give people the opportunity to make an informed decision and have autonomy. Thank you.